World S006 World of Boku no Hero / What if Izuku was the reincarnation of Escanor? * The birth of Izuku. Theory Part 1. In the past, where magic was normal, there were two beings. A man willing to give his life for a woman and his heart beat only for her. And a woman who, because of her ambition for knowledge, never gave herself the chance to love. The man died without achieving the love of his beloved. Although he said goodbye to the world with a kiss without love of that woman he loved. And the woman, after hundreds of years, could no longer cope with her life. Having had it all, she realized that in the end she missed that man who had denied her love. They were Escanor and Merlin. If you had asked them what they would wish for more, without hesitation they answered to be able to be by each other's side and give each other a chance to be together. But unfortunately it was already too late, or maybe not. POV Japan Actuality. After the beginning of the peculiarities arose several problems. People who used their power for evil called villain, and those who defended peace were classified as heroes. In the world globally, the percentage of people with quirk is 80%. But if we focus on Japan, the percentage of people with quirk is 98%. And that 2% represented the elderly, as now all children were born with a quirk. A couple formed by Toshinori Yagi and Inko Yagi. They were taking their newborn, whom they named Izuku, to check his quirk. The technology to detect quirk had advanced, and now it was no longer necessary to wait until children were 4 years old to have a quirk check. Toshinori Yagi talks cheerfully to his wife. "Tell me, honey, what do you think is the quirk of our little Izu?" "I don't know, honey, but it's possibly the same quirk as Izumi." "Speaking of Izumi, it's a pity she fell asleep," was Inko's reply. "I know, dear. She is only 2 years old, and since Izuku was born she was super happy, and yesterday she spent the whole day by Izuku's side. It seems that she is going to be very fond of her brother." Inko with a giggle spoke. He, imagine when he grows up. Izumi will scare away all the girls who want to take her brother away from her." They continued talking quietly and arrived at the doctor's office. After a while, the doctor who attended them had a worried face because of the news she was going to give them. COF. Yagi family, right? The parents nodded. "This may be hard to hear, but I want you to take it easy." Inko replied worriedly, "Please tell us, does our little Izuku have something wrong with him?" The doctor took a breath and answered, "Your son does not have the quirk factor." That news was a hard blow for the Yagi family. The one who took it worst was Toshinori Yagi. He cursed himself because he thought it was his fault. "What am I supposed to do? If people find out about this, not only will I be a laughing stock, but my son will be an easy target for villains who want to do me harm." Those were the thoughts of Toshinori, or as people knew him, All Might. Inko sobbed, as her little one may possibly be marginalized by society. "Listen, I know it's hard, but you have to be strong to be able to take care of your little one." The parents said goodbye, and on the way they discussed what they should do. Sniff sniff, what are we supposed to do, Toshi? My little one will suffer a lot. I don't want that for my son." Toshinori looked seriously at his wife, but his eyes showed sadness. "Dear, I think we should give him up for adoption." That suggestion left Inko stunned. She stopped her step and looked incredulously at her husband. "Tell me that's not true. Tell me I didn't hear what I think I heard," replies Toshinori. He looked down at the floor in clear embarrassment, but regained his composure and replied, "You heard me, Inko, and I meant it. It's not just the fact that he's a Mukozii. Tell me, imagine if people knew that the hero All Might had a son without quirk. What do you think would happen to our son?" Inko remained silent, as she worried about her baby, who had a smile and was unaware of his situation. "Do you really think it is the best thing for him?" It was the voice of a devastated mother who did not want to be separated from her child. Toshinori gave it some thought and replied, "I can't say for sure. He may live better or he may not. But what is certain is that he will live a miserable life if people find out that he is my son. All right, just promise me that wherever we leave him he will be taken care of, promise me and I will listen to you." Toshinori nodded, agreeing with his wife. Inko with her sad look spoke, "I'm worried about Izumi. Even though she is very little, she may notice her brother's absence. And if she finds out about this in the future, she will surely be angry with us." The two continued to talk about more things and Toshinori did his best to make Inko feel better. He knew that his decision was the easy way, the coward's way. He wouldn't admit it openly, but his childhood was difficult and he didn't want to be related to someone without quirk, even if it was his son. Deep down he knew he was selfish and probably his mentor Nana Shimura would be disappointed with him. They arrived at the house and went to see her daughter Izumi Yagi. She brought out her mother's features. A girl with freckles and green eyes, as well as hair of the same color. On the other hand, Izuku took on the features of his father, was blonde and had blue eyes. Izumi at the sight of her little brother, he raises his little hand as a sign of wanting to have him close. Her mother Inko with a smile places her son next to her daughter. Little Izumi gives her brother a hug. She was very happy to be by his side. After a while, both babies fell asleep. Izumi had a big smile as she slept hugging her brother. Inko could not take it anymore and collapsed on the floor, crying inconsolably. Toshinori could only hug her because he had no words to comfort his wife. Already on the night, Toshinori made a couple of contacts and searched for the best orphanage. The least he could do was to ensure his son's safety. Repentance. Theory Part 2. A few painful days passed for Inko Yagi. She spent most of her time with her son. Every day she told him how much she loved him and that no matter what happened she would continue to love him. The days continued until she had to be separated from her baby. Something inside her broke. 5 years passed and Inko never went back to her old self. She forced herself to smile, but how could she be happy if she left her baby abandoned? POV Izumi. I am 7 years old and I noticed how my mother and father were always arguing, plus I saw my mother crying late at night. One day I was spying on her and I discovered something shocking. Me. I had a little brother. I also cried and got very angry because he was abandoned just because he was a Mukozii. I didn't tell my parents that I already knew the truth. At that moment I decided that I would find him. My dream is to be a heroine and I would find my brother. I just hope that when I find him he will forgive me. I know it's not my fault, but I feel like I failed him as an older sister. Without my parents knowing, I made a copy of a picture where Izuku and I were as babies. Seeing that picture made my chest hurt. I felt very nostalgic looking at that picture. I always felt that something was missing in my life. Now I knew what was missing. I was missing my brother. I bought a heart locket and when I opened it there was the picture I treasured the most. POV Toshinori. It's been a long time, sometimes I wonder if I did the right thing. I have had visions of former On4All users and apparently none of them want me to continue using On4All. I had a fight with my nemesis from which I emerged victorious. I came out of the fight mostly unscathed, but my time of use is running out. Apparently the carriers are preventing me from using On4All. Apparently I have to find a worthy successor before it's too late. POV 3 years later. I am Izumi Yagi. I am 10 years old. Since I was 4 years old when I manifested my telekinesis quirk. I've been training it. Although I didn't like the idea, I asked my mother to train me. She also has the same quirk, although she was never interested in being a heroine. Still, my mom was very strong. I was going to school until I ran into my friend Katsuki Bakugo. "Hey nerd, if you don't hurry you'll be late," said a smiling Bakugo. Izumi with disinterest replies, "There is still time so don't worry me. Bakugo and I are childhood friends, because my parents and his parents are friends so it was normal that their children were friends too." At first I liked hanging out with Bakugo, but I've noticed how after waking up his quirk has become kind of annoying. Arriving at school, we headed to the classroom and I encountered the same scene as usual. A boy I don't know proposed to me to be his girlfriend. The unknown boy spoke, "Hi. Izumi. I'm Mateo and I like you very much." "You've again the same thing," I mentally denied. "Listen to me, I don't know you and we are too small for this. I'd appreciate it if you'd go away and leave me alone." My comments didn't please her and she abandoned her shyness and looked at me annoyed. "Listen to me, stupid, you will be my girlfriend and I won't take no for an answer." I was going to use my gift. But... boom! The boy went flying about 2 meters. Katsuki gets in front of me and shouts in annoyance. "You little scumbag, did you really think you'd be worthy of her?" The way she defended me made me blush. Katsuki noticed it and put on a triumphant, self-centered smile that I didn't notice. Katsuki speaks again, "No one is worthy of her. The closest to being worthy of her is me. Let's be clear." The other boy on the ground nods quickly and runs away. Izumi shyly speaks up, "Thank you, Katsuki, you were my hero." As a thank you I went up to him and gave him a kiss on the cheek. I could see him blushing and that made me happy. Days passed and Katsuki was behaving very well with me and I slowly started to have feelings for him. It wasn't until a little more than 5 months later that he proposed me to be boyfriend and girlfriend and the truth was I didn't know what to do. Katsuki with a determined look spoke to me, "Please Izumi, we have known each other for a long time, accept my feelings." Seeing Izumi's expression of doubt, Katsuki cursed himself inside, but he came up with a plan. Katsuki looked at him and took his hand gently. "If you accept me as your boyfriend, I swear I'll help you find your lost brother." That was all it took and it made Izumi accept. Inko after those 3 years looked more haggard. She had dark circles under her eyes from the little sleep she got. She couldn't stand it anymore. And without caring about her husband's opinion, she went in search of her son. Inko was traveling in the car and said to herself mentally, "I hope it's not too late. I have been an idiot for letting myself be convinced. Please, God, help me to find Izuku, I swear I will be the best mother in the world. Please, give me the chance to have my son and I swear I will never abandon him again." When she arrived at the orphanage she ran out of the car. At the reception desk she asked for a boy named Izuku. She wanted to see her little boy again. But her hopes were shattered. "I'm sorry Mrs. Yagi, but we have never received a child with that name," was the receptionist's reply. My world collapsed when I heard that. I could only say, "Thank you." Without another word I ran to my car while crying and cursing myself in her mind. "Stupid. This is all your fault, how could I abandon my son?" She was already returning home. But her reddened eyes revealed that she had cried a lot. She entered the house and waited in the living room sitting on the furniture for her husband to come home with Izumi from school. It wasn't even 2 hours later and he saw them both enter. "Mommy." It was her daughter's cheerful voice and I couldn't help but smile at her as I hugged her. Inko speaks to her daughter in a loving voice, "Honey, go take a bath. Mommy has something important to talk to your father about." Izumi nods her head in approval and runs off to do as she was told. Toshinori was about to kiss his wife. But she put her hand on his chest to stop his advance. Inko looked furious and spoke, "Where is my son? Answer." This surprised her husband, who was unable to formulate a response. Inko continued speaking, "I went to the orphanage, because I realized how stupid I was for accepting your suggestion to leave him. Do you know what they said to me when I asked about my baby?" Toshinori kept quiet, because what else could he do? So he let his wife keep talking. "They never received a baby named Izuku_. They don't know where my baby is. You better give me an explanation or I'll file for divorce this very instant." Toshinori was frightened by the last thing he was told. He loved his wife and now he could lose her for a jerk. Without wasting time, he dialed the people in charge of taking his son to the orphanage. He dialed a number, but there was no answer. He went on like that for an hour. Until someone answered. "Hello, who is calling this number?" A sinister voice rang. Toshinori became nervous and replied, I used your services to take my son to an orphanage." There was no answer for almost 5 minutes. "Sir, I don't think you'll like what I'm going to tell you, but this phone belonged to a gang of child traffickers. I don't think I'll ever hear from your son again." After that they hung up the phone. Toshinori's hands were shaking with sheer horror. Inko was no better. She fainted hearing that tragic news. After 2 hours Inko woke up. She had already made up her mind. She got up and started to take all the important things. Toshinori saw her from afar and didn't have to be a genius to know what was going on. Still, he wanted to avoid what was going to happen. Toshinori approached his wife and in a sad voice spoke to her, "I'm so sorry, I never thought." His words were interrupted, for a green aura enveloped Toshinori and they were compressing him. Inko had her hair floating and a greenish aura was manifesting. She had her hand outstretched as she closed her wrist. "Damn monster, I gave you my son to take to the orphanage yourself. But you gave him to who knows who. And now I'll never get him back." She told him with a lot of hatred, but her tears were falling in droves because she was emotionally wrecked. Sniff sniff sniff. He was my son. He was my baby. And I can never get him back. Listen well, Toshinori. Today you have lost not only your son but also your wife. She threw Toshinori roughly to the ground. And went to say goodbye to her daughter. After 1 hour in which the mother comforted her daughter and more or less explained the reason for her farewell, she left Toshinori from the door of his house. He watched as the woman he loved left. She turned around and said to him, "I know that at the trial you will have custody of Izumi. For everyone worships All Might and no one would support a citizen. So take care of her, I will come from time to visit her." Izumi saw everything from the second floor through her window. She was a little girl, she still couldn't understand what was happening. An unbreakable will. Theory Part 3. I'm Izuku. That's the name I was given, although where I am, no one has a name, we only have ID numbers. Ironically, I don't have a number because I'm a special case, I'm a Mukozii. Footsteps are heard approaching where I am. As I looked up defiantly at those arriving. A man in a robe and somewhat fat and with big circular glasses spoke to me, "How are you feeling, my pet?" "Grrr bastard. I hate you." The doctor and his companions burst out laughing, "Ha ha 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 ha." The doctor wiped away a fake tear and looked at me, "Of all my experiments you are the only one who still retains that defiant look. Who knew the bravest would be a miserable Mukozii?" Despite being wounded, I applied force to hit him, but a few centimeters away the chains that had me imprisoned stopped me. "When I can escape. And I'm going to kill you." Spoke with difficulty, but with an immense hatred that scared everyone but that shitty doctor. The doctor grabbed his cane and raised it. Then he brought it down hard, hitting me in the face. Pa. Bam. Bam. Bam, those were the sounds of the numerous blows I received. After 20 minutes the doctor was exhausted and spoke, "Prepare yourself mentally in a while we will run certain tests on you." Then he put on a serious face. "And remember well, child, what happens when you resist my experiments." I shuddered at what he meant and nodded my head. My eyes were burning with fury. They started to leave, but the doctor stopped. "Oh, by the way, happy birthday." With a macabre laugh he left with his companions. After a few minutes armed people arrived, removed my chains and took me to a room where the other test subjects, mostly people my age, were gathered. Upon arrival I observed a familiar sight. They all looked at me with hatred. And I knew the reason. Every time I would get violent with the staff or disobey an order, I was forced to kill one of those kids. That's why they all hate me. And I didn't blame them. After waiting for a while, they called a girl and me. They took us to a place I didn't know. The girl was tied to a bed, and I was handcuffed to a chair. I swallowed saliva from what I saw. For my eyes focused on a transparent capsule and a horrible being came into view. That thing had its brain exposed. The bastard doctor who from what I heard was named Garaki. He had a disturbing smile and had with him 5 needles with a black liquid. Garaki with a disturbing smile spoke to me and the girl, "Today one of you will die." The girl started to cry, "Please. I don't want to die. I will do anything. Kill the Mukozii, that thing is good for nothing." I for my part remained silent. I wasn't going to give him the satisfaction of seeing me scared. Hey, good idea girl. That's right, we'll get rid of the garbage first. The girl was relieved and had a smile full of mischief directed at Izuku, until Klin. It was the sound of the needle being used and injected into the girl who went into shock. Because. Why did you do that? She started shaking and foaming at the mouth. Aerg. Hurts. Hurts. Kill me. And then there was a silence. The girl in front of Izuku passed away. Izuku with a furious look spoke to Garaki, "What the hell was that injection?" Mr. Garaki frowned and without any qualms injected me the remaining 4 syringes at once. Aerg. Bastard. Bastard. I swear you will die in my hands. More screaming was heard in that room and then it went quiet. Tsh, that crap, I thought it would hold out, but I guess after 4 years of various experiments finally the Mukozii ended up dying. I wonder what All Might would think of his son's death, said the doctor with malice in his voice. The doctor then looked at Nomu. Listen, throw him as far away from here as possible, Mukozii's body is of no use to me. We spent a lot of resources, but he never woke up any gift we gave him. The Nomu silently grabbed the little blonde-haired boy and went to carry out his boss's order. Izuku found himself in a strange place. Everything had aquamarine colors and beautiful crystals. He was going to keep walking, but stopped when he felt someone tapping him on the shoulder. When he turned around he found 2 beautiful women. He blushed because in front of him were 2 beauties. One was a brunette woman with black hair and the other a blonde woman with blue eyes. They, seeing his reaction, let out a light laugh. No matter how much time or decades pass, it seems we will always take your breath away with our beauty. I introduce myself, my name is Merlin and my friend next door is Rosa. Hello little one. Were the words pronounced by the blonde-haired woman named Rosa. Merlin approached the young Izuku and spoke to him. It was a pleasure to see you again. I hope things work out this time. With that she gave me a kiss on my forehead, causing me to blush. He gave me a beautiful smile and returned to his original position. Now it was Rosa's turn to come closer and I could see that her eyes reflected guilt and regret. She hugged me between sobs. I didn't know what to do and the only thing I did was return her hug while rubbing her head. She broke away from the hug and wiped her tears. Then she gave me a beaming smile. No matter how much time passes, you will always be a gentleman with the women you love. Hearing that I blushed. I love someone is impossible, I'm too young, I didn't know any of them, but my heart told me that I knew them from somewhere. Then I saw them fade into the light. Merlin looked at me and gave me a faint smile. I know I will get it right this time. Or rather, my reincarnation will make things right. Rosa nodded in agreement. This time no goddess or demon will be able to prevent us from being together. Then Merlin and Rosa looked at each other, nodded and spoke at the same time. Tell me little one, can you promise us something? Yes, was Izuku's answer. Find US and love US. Saying that the whole place lit up and blinded me, though I felt something warm on my cheeks. I couldn't see, but I felt my heart beating fast and unconsciously I smiled. Izuku started to regain consciousness and saw him being carried away by that monster in the lab. In his thoughts, shit. What do I do? He didn't know what to do, but now he had a goal and it was to find Merlin and Rosa again. He took a leap of faith. And with all his strength he kicked the exposed brain of that monster. Ergurg. The monster roared and released Izuku. He didn't wait any longer and left the place with all the speed he could run. After what seemed like an eternity, he lost sight of the monster. Izuku contemplated what he had to do. Well, first I know I'm smart, but being imprisoned I'm a bit clumsy at speaking. I need all the knowledge of this world. Then I will need to train myself. With that idea in mind he left the place, without first promising to return to free those children and slaughter the adults and especially Garaki. An unexpected reunion. Theory Part 4. POV 3 years. A hooded person is seen running away from several officers. "Stop right now, brat, you're surrounded," shouted a police officer. The hooded person looked around and found himself surrounded by police officers and some recognizable heroes. The most notable was the rabbit heroine known as Mirko. The hooded man raises his hands in submission and a police officer approaches to handcuff him. But before being handcuffed, the hooded man disappeared at full speed. "Ha ha ha, how delusional, they will never catch me," the hooded man said happily. But out of the corner of his eye he saw a white blur and then felt a loud bang that sent him crashing into a building. Cof. I have to admit it hurt. He stood up and looked at a smiling Mirko. "Stay still, villain. If you get up I'll break your legs." She started to approach, but the villain didn't expect a kick to her face that sent him crashing back into the building. "Holy shit. I think I have a broken rib." He didn't wait and left the place at great speed. The heroine didn't care. She smiled big and went in pursuit of the villain. "Well, apparently I escaped from that madwoman," her thoughts stayed there. "Well, she was trampled by a dragon." Ryukyu spoke seriously. "You're under arrest, villain." He, tell me what is the reason of my arrest." "You are under arrest for being an unlicensed vigilante, not to mention the fact that you are accused of several robberies." "I see, I do your job, but I'm the villain." "That's bullshit." He stood up and was about to escape, but he received a flare of fire. "Aha! You bastard, you could burn me alive." He looked at his hand and realized that he had horrible burns all over his arm that he got from protecting himself by the fire from the fire hero. "We'll take you to jail, you villain," said a burly man with his arms crossed. This person was the well-known Endeavor. "And who decides that?" "Only I decide that." He launched an attack against the heroes who to their surprise offered battle. They were evenly matched, but Mirko arrived at great speed, and he gave him a kick in the legs that on impact broke some of his bones. "Fuck. You want to kill me?" Mirko with a smile replies, "You're a villain, I won't be soft on the scum of society." Without another word everyone rushes to attack the hooded man. He was wounded. Or rather, he was a mess. Desperation, anguish, shame. That was what this person was feeling. Clench your fist. I trained until I broke every bone in my body. And I will not let them defeat me, and I will not let them call me a villain. I am more heroes than you. With a war cry he continued to fight. Each blow, each kick was getting stronger. Mirko gasped with exhaustion, "What the fuck is going on? An hour ago I was practically defeated." "You're right, Mirko." "Arsh. Damn, that bastard dislocated my arm." It was Endeavor's complaint. "Let's keep fighting. I doubt he can continue fighting with so many wounds. If we do not stop him now he will continue to do more misdeeds, his actions are unforgivable. Aerhe was the roar of a Ryukyu transformed into a dragon that launched into the attack again. The hooded man leapt to catch up with the dragon's head. Swallow this bastard, boom. It was the sound of the impact of the blow. Seconds later Ryukyu lost her transformation and was about to crash to the ground. The mysterious guy catches her so she doesn't get hurt. The last thing Ryukyu saw before she fainted were blue eyes that reflected great tiredness and concern from her. Get away from her, villain. Endeavor threw a tornado of fire at her. Mirko was surprised by Endeavor's stupidity. You idiot, you will hurt Ryukyu_. The hooded man was too tired to dodge the flames. He just turned his back to her while hugging the heroine. He gritted his teeth in pain. He wasn't a villain and so he wasn't going to let anyone get hurt. Ryukyu was awakened by the screams and his eyes widened in horror. He saw the villain he wanted to arrest, but what he saw was not a villain, it was a hero. Ryukyu, with what little strength he could, shouted, "Endeavor, enough." The flames subsided and Ryukyu shed tears. She saw the face of her savior. And was shocked by what she saw. They, professional heroes, had hurt a child. The child couldn't take it anymore and collapsed on the ground fainting. But he still had the heroine in his arms. Ryukyu with tears, I hurt him and he just defended me to the point of fainting. Tsh, what do I care? He was lucky I didn't use stronger flames. Haha, now I'm going to throw this villain in jail. He was taking steps so he could see the villain's face. Before that happened a loud bang sounded. Endeavor fell to the ground unconscious and Rumi was seen in tears with her foot up. Well, she knocked the bastard unconscious with a single kick. Rumi, without waiting any longer, went to her friend. And seeing the state of the villain, Rumi covered her mouth in horror. Tell me it's not true. I hurt a child. Rumi. Her friend's scream made her react. We have to help him, he's in a very bad state. Rumi nods in confirmation. Listen, Rumi, we can't take him to the hospital, he's a villain, but I know he must have a reason why he became a villain. Rumi expresses himself with determination. We have to take him home. When he recovers we have to interrogate him. He is very young and could still redeem himself. He may still have a future. Almost a day passed and the blonde-haired boy started to get up. Wow, my head hurts, what happened, where am I, how did I get here? He looked up and what he saw left him with his mouth open. Well, he was staring at the heroine Mirko while she was changing her clothes. Mirko, as the impulsive person he is. And for the surprise. All he did was kick the guy in the face and knock him unconscious. 10 seconds of silence passed and Rumi could only say, shit. Ryuko won't be happy. 7 hours passed. And the boy got up again. Fuck, my head is spinning. Cof. His gaze went to the sound. He looked at two women he could recognize as the heroine Mirko and Ryukyu. The blonde-haired woman grabbed her doe friend's head and bowed it apologetically. A red Rumi spoke up, I'm so sorry. I panicked and reacted impulsively. The boy didn't know what was happening until his mind was filled with images of a naked Rumi. The boy looked away and spoke, I'm sorry too. Believe me, I didn't mean to. But I recognize that I liked it. He said this last with a slight smile. Rumi was puzzled and gave a slight smile. Only one thing crossed her mind, I'll make you mine when I grow up. After some small talk, the two women asked him why he was a villain and how he got to that situation. Izuku looked at his hands and squeezed them tightly. He then looked at the two heroines and with a sigh recounted his life. My name is Izuku, I'm 11 years old. I have no parents. In my early years, when I was aware of my surroundings, I discovered that I was in a research center. In that place they experimented on me and other children. The two women tensed up and felt a growing fury. I was special, or rather I was missing something special that everyone had. I was missing a quirk. The two heroines were amazed by that revelation. They did a lot of experiments on me more. They wanted me to wake up a quirk by force. I fought with everyone. I never let them walk all over me. I was rebellious, and because of me, because of my arrogance and pride, many children died at my hands. The women were surprised and Rumi wanted to ask to see if what she had heard was true. You. Have you really killed? The boy nods in confirmation. When I was misbehaving, they would lock me and some random kid up and inject him and me with a syringe to give us quirk. It was indescribable pain. And those kids lost their sanity and started turning into monsters. Sniff sniff. I did not want to, but I saw their pleading eyes telling me to end their lives. They didn't want to be monsters. A tearful Mirko gives her a hug. Why, little one? You can rest. You can cry now, here nobody will judge you for it, she spoke to him with affection. Izuku squeezed the hug. I didn't want to, they forced me. Sniff sniff, they all hated me. All those kids hated me. I'm a monster. Izuku got a tap on the nose from Ryukyu. Listen kid, you're not bad. And if you feel guilty then do something about it. Rumi breaks away from the hug and she and Ryukyu point their fingers at him and speak in unison, become a hero. Izuku wiped away his tears and smiled. I am going to be the world's greatest hero and I swear I will make a difference to make the world a better place. The emergence of the solar hero. Theory Part 5. Hello, my name is Izuku, I'm 13 years old and although I'm young I have a pretty developed body, maybe it's because of my training and the experiments I was subjected to. So my body looks like a 15 years old boy. Right now I find myself doing little jumps for my training. You might be wondering who I'm up against. Well, I'm up against, brat shut up already. It was the cry of an annoyed Rumi pounding the ground with her feet. Ha ha ha, I'm sorry Rumi. I got carried away with emotion and ended up talking to myself. Rumi let out a light laugh. Haha, well brat, remember I won't be nice to you. Without saying anything else, she jumped in my direction to give me a kick which I was able to withstand with my hand outstretched. She turned around to take position. In a burst of speed she approached. And began with a melee confrontation. Ryukyu was on his patrol time and could notice someone about to jump off a bridge. Hi, what are you doing? Stop right now. He landed near what appeared to be a woman. I went over to help her. From her appearance it was clear that she was not sleeping, apart from being very malnourished. Stop! Was the woman's cry. Take one more step and I jumped off the bridge. I stopped and took a breath of resignation. I can see you'll jump no matter what, right? The woman nods. Osh, okay, do it, but can you tell me why you're going to do it? The lady shed several tears, but began to tell me her reason. My name is Inko Midoriya, and I committed the sin of getting rid of my son. The idea was my husband's, but my insecurities made me not think clearly and I agreed. Sniff sniff. I miss my baby. How I wish I could find him and ask for forgiveness. Believe me, I tried. God knows I tried to look for him for the past few years. I spent all my money to be able to look for him, I sold everything to have the resources to get in case there were any clues. Clenches fist in frustration, but there never was a clue. My chest hurts to think that my little boy is dead, that's why I'm going to jump, hopefully my baby will be in the other world. Ryukyu gives a long sigh and looks at the sky sadly. Yeah, you screwed up girlfriend, I can see your pain. I would help you, but from what you tell me it would be impossible to find him. Before you jump off the bridge I'd like some advice from a mother. Inko nods for me to continue. 2 years ago, I found a child who has no parents. From his early days he was used for various experiments and other things that damaged his innocence. I can't take the role of a mother, because I see him more as a friend. Ryukyu looks at Inko and speaks to her. What do you think I should do? I know that he wants a family and I don't know what to do. Inko thinks about it for a while and gives him a smile. Love him. Take care of him and make him happy. He has suffered and he needs precious people, people he can love to heal his heart. Ryukyu gives him a smile. You would be a great mother to him. Tell me, would you like to help me with that? Inko thinks for a while and gives a slight smile. I don't think I can be a mother to that boy. Inko saw the sad face on the heroine's face. Although she could see him and give him some advice that could help him in his situation. Ryukyu gives her a hug and without waiting for more, he takes her away with his dragon form. Ryukyu and Inko enter the training room and the first thing they see is how Izuku and Rumi hit each other. Boom. Pum. It was the blows they gave each other in the face. Rumi panting from exhaustion. Give it up, brat, I won't let you win again. Izuku put on a smirk. Hee. Apparently the bunny can't take it anymore. He received a punch in the cheek and without waiting he hit her back, making Rumi fall to the ground tired. Ha 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 ha, you are amazing, brat. In less than 2 years and you've already beaten me. Rumi looks at Izuku and gives him a beautiful smile. You are amazing, Izuku. Inko froze at the sight of the blue-eyed blonde boy. Her heart was pounding. There was no way that was her son. She was going to discard that idea because it was crazy. Inko surprised stammers. She calls him Izu. She said, Izuku. Ryukyu looks at his companion. Right, I didn't tell you, but our boy's name is Izuku. Inko was walking and caught the attention of the two who were training. From Izuku's point of view she saw an unknown woman with her friend Ryukyu entering. She also watched as that lady walked in her direction. He was going to say something, but he felt how the woman hugged him tightly while crying as if his life depended on her. Thank God. Thank you. She had already given up hope. She looked up full of tears and looked at her lost son who was watching her with confusion. I found you, my little Izu. Ryukyu's eyes widened in surprise as he came to an astonishing conclusion. He found it his mother. Izuku was confused with the lady hugging him, so he broke away from the embrace. Izuku scratched his head in embarrassment. Madam, I think you have the wrong person, because I don't know her. Inko couldn't help but cry. Izuku hugged her instinctively. Sorry if I said something bad to you, I didn't mean to hurt you. Inko shook her head. It's not your fault, the only one to blame is your stupid mother. Izuku was surprised with that answer. Madam, you're wrong, I don't have a mother. Those words hurt Inko, but she knew she deserved them. I'm sorry, my little one, I'm sorry I abandoned you. Believe me, I tried my best to find you, but... Sniff sniff, I couldn't, I'm someone horrible. Izuku with crystalline eyes about to cry. Madam, tell me what your son was like. My baby was the cutest baby in the world. He had hair as golden as the sun and eyes as blue as the sky. What was your son's name? My baby's name is Izuku. Inko caresses her son's cheeks with her hands. And this stupid girl has missed all your life. Inko cried again and hugged her son. Izuku hugged her too. After a while they separate from the embrace. Izuku with tears puts on a big smile. I always wondered who my parents were, I always wondered if I was loved, I have done bad things and possibly you are not proud of me. Izuku lowers his gaze. Inko approaches him and rubs his cheek. Son, I know you suffered because of me. And now I am here so you can share your pain. I will listen to you everything and remember that I will never be disappointed in you. You are so awesome that you have made 2 top heroines fall in love. That comment made the cheeks of both heroines turn red. Rumi read, me. I'm out of here. With an exaggerated jump she breaks the window of the room and flees from the place. Ryukyu had a drop of sweat for her friend, cough. Excuse my friend, I'll come out to get some air too. The dragon heroine walks slowly. Once outside and without anyone seeing her, she covers her face in shame. My cheeks burn. Those were Ryukyu's thoughts. Mother and son told each other many things. Although Inko cried a lot knowing all the things her son went through. She promised to do her best to make her son happy. On Izuku's side, he was happy to know that he had a sister and angry to know that somehow it was all because of his father. Inko with a worried look asks her son, "Tell me Izu, what you are going to do?" Izuku reflected a little and answered, "I can't forgive my father. My sister is not to blame, so I'm going to go to see her. Although for the moment I won't, I want to make her proud, so I'll finish my year of training with Mirko and Ryukyu and then I'll accept the offer from Headmaster Nizu of AU." Inko asked curiously, "Hey Izu, what will your hero name be?" Izuku looked at the horizon observing the sun and got his answer, "I will be the hero who will light up the world from its darkness. I will be the solar hero. I will be Apollo. The origin of my power." Theory Part 6. I reconciled with my mother and continued with my training. Despite being so strong, I continued training. My relationship with Rumi and Ryuko has been improving. I know I'm young, but I feel something for them both. I owe them a lot because thanks to them I have a better life. We can see Izuku fighting with 4 heroes. Mirko, Ryukyu, Hawks and Eraserhead. Izuku was winning the fight, as his strength hasn't stopped growing. Also over time he realized that he had several quirks granted by experiments. His quirks are regeneration, impact absorption, superhuman strength, and finally, the power to heal wounds to others. Fatigue set in on the heroes. Mirko threw himself and tried to kick Izuku. Izuku with only 2 fingers parried his blow. Izuku with an arrogant voice, "What's wrong, bunny? Maybe you've gone soft on me." She winks at him, making Rumi annoyed and blush. A shadow appeared on the spot, and when Izuku looked up, he looked at Ryukyu, who was going to crush him with his feet. Pum! It was a thunderous sound, when the dust curtain cleared. Something surprising was revealed. Izuku was holding the dragon's leg with one hand. Maybe my little dragon has lost weight. He winked at it and the dragon's face had a red tinge. The dragon backed away. Eraserhead speaks in an annoyed voice, "Okay, we get it, you're strong with your quirk." Then he puts on a sinister smile. "Let's see what you do without your gifts." Eraser's eyes glow with an intense red. Izuku looks at his hand, and forms a fist. I feel I'm weaker. Eraser with commanding voice, "Attack with everything." The fight had changed. Even if Izuku was strong, he was now losing, and at Izuku's own request he wanted nobody to hold back. After 5 minutes Izuku had several bruises caused by Mirko and Ryukyu and had several cuts caused by Hawks. Erase with a serious voice, "Give up Izuku, you don't have a chance to win anymore." His eyes were red, so the fight would have to end quickly. JE. Ha 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 jaja. Really, they think that because I don't have a gift I will lose. Well, they are wrong. Izuku points his finger towards the sun, his eyes reflected the flames of the sun. His already large stature grew even larger. "I am above all. I am Apollo-sama." Aggggghh. With a battle cry Izuku went after his opponents and with a burst of speed defeats Mirko, Ryukyu and Hawks. Izuku speaks arrogantly to his last opponent, "Either you surrender or I humiliate you, it's up to you Eraser." For his part, Eraser was in disbelief. In front of him was a being radiating otherworldly power. Then he smiled. "How cheeky of you, but I admit I've lost." Izuku smiles, "Don't feel bad. No one could do it with me." Then Izuku calms his breathing and starts to return to his normal size. Then he looks at the sun. He reaches out his hand and can feel how the sun itself gave him power. A power even greater than all his quirk combined. He then went over to his fainted friends and used his healing quirk, healing any wounds his friends had. With only 4 months to go before he arrived at AU, he set out to train his new power, which he named Sunshine. He spent 4 months pushing his limits. Now she was in a limo with her friends and her teachers, as well as her mother. Inko with a proud smile, "Tell me Izu, are you nervous?" "No mother. The students at that place must be the nervous ones. HHA, after all I am the strongest." Everyone in the car took a mental hit, because Izuku's sassy attitude used to bring little trouble. Rumi and Ryuko wouldn't admit it, but they liked that part, because by their animal instinct they liked the boy they loved to be the dominant one. They came to AU on the weekend, so there were almost no students. Our group approached Nizu's office. Knock knock. They received a pass. "So you are the new promise to be number 1. Just by looking at you I can see that you've been well trained." The talkative rodent lifts his paw to her in greeting. Izuku shakes his hand, "Nice to meet you, Director. I am Izuku Midoriya. And you are right, in front of your eyes is the being that rises in the chasm of heroes. Ha 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 ha, be in awe of my presence." After that he gets a zap from Rumi. "Ouch ouch, why are you hitting me?" Everyone had a drop of sweat from the scene. Rumi lets out a sigh, "Don't worry, Director. He may be an idiot. But he's our good-hearted idiot. Hee, that's how I see it." Then Nizu observes Izuku. "Tell me, young man, what is your hero name?" Izuku lets out a light laugh and poses heroically. "I am the hero who is revered by the sun itself. I am the one who lights up the world." Poem. She gets a zap from her mother. Inko with her quirk forces her son to bow down. "Sorry, Director, for my son. Sometimes he gets excited and spouts nonsense." Then she looks at her son. "Tell me Izu something to say." Izuku had his arms folded and was pouting. He didn't want to talk, but he felt Ryukyu hugging him from behind and blowing in his ear. Ryuko in a flirtatious voice, "Come on my little man, behave yourself, and when you come back home I'll give you a nice surprise." Rumi had her mouth open and then frowned, "How dare you? I will be Izuku's first wife. I will be the only one." Ryuko then puts on a look of pure innocence, "But what are you talking about? I was just going to prepare her favorite meal." Rumi at this point was like a tomato. She couldn't say a word. He didn't think about it and jumped at the window with a kick, smashed it and left the place. Inko could not stand it any longer and laughed, "Ha ha 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 ha, that girl is going to give me a heart attack because she is so innocent." Then she looked at her son. "Son, take care of Rumi and Ryuko so much." Now it was Ryukyu's turn and he followed his friend's example and escaped through the window. In the meantime, Nizu was drinking his tea. And she was smiling. In her thoughts was how interesting Izuku turned out to be. COF. It has been entertaining, but let's get to the big one. He raised his paw pointing at Izuku. "If you manage to pass my test you will go straight to the 3rd year and become part of the big 3 of the AU." Izuku clapped his palm, "I'm ready. When we start?" "Jeej now. * the strongest of the AU. Theory Part 7. Izuku stepped back and dodged the blow of a guy that appeared from the ground. When he tried to hit him with his foot he was grabbed by some tentacles that came out of a teenager who appeared behind him. With a little force he destroyed the tentacles and from the broken window appeared a blue-haired girl, and with a cute smile and with an outstretched hand she sent Izuku flying and shattering the wall of Nizu's office and landed in the courtyard outside. Izuku pulled himself together and was surrounded by 3 teenagers. Izuku bowed by way of greeting, "It's a pleasure to see the big 3. Though before their eyes they see the biggest of the big ones of the UA. He stopped talking because Mirio stepped up and parried a punch that was going for his face. With his free hand he wanted to hit Mirio, but he was held by the tentacles of the other student. And the blue-haired girl approached him. And with a smile he spoke to me, "Jeej, I'm Nijire-chan, tell me what's your quirk?" Izuku bent down to talk to him and Nijire came closer to listen. But he received no answer. Instead he received a kiss on the cheek. "Sorry miss, but you're in a fight. But if you want, after we defeat them, we can spend some time together?" She gave him a smile that made Nijire's heart beat. She backed up a couple of steps while covering her face so no one would see her. COF. Izuku looks at Mirio who is still holding him with the other guy and they both have a bead of sweat from being ignored. Mirio puts a big smile, "I'm Mirio and it will be a pleasure to meet you." Then he put a determined look, "But first we have to finish this fight." Mirio uses her free hand and punches her opponent's face. Tamaki approaches with an arm with the exoskeleton of a crab and hits him hard on the head with the intention of knocking him out. Izuku had his head down and looked knocked out. Nijire got worried and approached the knocked-out boy, stroked his head and without anyone expecting it, Izuku gave him another kiss on the other cheek. Izuku got rid of Mirio and Tamaki's grip and did a backflip. Nijire turned red and pointed at him accusingly, You perverted baka. Who told you that you could kiss me?" Tamaki was a bit jealous and approached Izuku at great speed. Tamaki threw a punch with his right hand and aimed at Izuku's face. Izuku dodged the punch. He then raised his hand and tried to knock Tamaki down with a single punch, but Tamaki built a shell on his neck. Confident that the blow would not affect him, he gave him a smirk. Izuku didn't stop his attack and to everyone's surprise he broke through the shell like it was nothing and Tamaki fell unconscious. Izuku with a smile, "Little rookie, only I can trust myself in a battle." Izuku focused his gaze on the missing ones. Mirio walked into the earth. She wanted to surprise Izuku, but as soon as she saw the blonde hair sticking out of the ground. Boom! It was the blow that Izuku gave that shattered the earth, creating a crack with a diameter of 7 meters. It raised a large curtain of dust and Nijire threw a wave that left everything clear. Nijire looked around and asked, Nee, where did Mirio go?" I think you mean him." Izuku pointed to the ground. Nijire was confused, but was horrified when she saw Izuku bury his hand in the ground and pulled Mirio off the ground holding him by the hair. Izuku, without a shred of compassion, threw Mirio towards Nijire who tried to catch her friend. What she didn't expect was to be dragged for 10 meters. Nijire gasped. Her hand and chest hurt from the impact and her feet were shaking from all she endured while being dragged. Nijire with an annoyed look, "You defeated Tamaki, I can let you pass, but you hurt my friend and threw him away like nothing. So I won't forgive you." Nijire put his friend on the ground and gave a slight smile, "Don't worry Mirio, I'll win." Nijire lunged and approached Izuku who had a smirk on his face and had his arms crossed. Just 5 centimeters away he put his hand on Izuku's chest. Nijire decidedly shouted, "I'll beat you." A strong wave was released. It was the most powerful wave released by Nijire, his hands were on fire and he was out of breath. As the attack was made, a gigantic cloud of dust rose up. Nijire had a happy smile on her face and was about to faint and was falling just before the impact. She was picked up bridal style by a smiling Izuku. Nijire mentally cursed herself for losing. Looks like I lost." Nijire reached up as best she could and stroked the beautiful hair of her opponent. I seem to like you." After that she fainted. Izuku didn't expect that. He just wanted to flirt a little with that girl with the beautiful smile. He mentally cursed himself, although he didn't realize that he was a little bit in love with the light blue-haired girl. Several footsteps were heard and Izuku turned around. He ran into Nizu, his mother. Oh, her teachers were also there and they had a sharp look that made it clear that they were not happy. Nizu spoke with a smile, "Congratulations young Midoriya. As a reward you have entered the Big Three, or rather the new Big Four of the UA. On Monday come and introduce yourself to the other courses. Izuku, a bit nervous, replies, Hehe, thanks Nizu, if you don't mind, I'll leave Nijire to the medical room. Unfortunately for Izuku, Nijire opens her eyes and she didn't have to be very smart to see that her teacher Ryukyu and the heroine Mirko were in love with the guy who had a crush on her. Nijire, acting still asleep, wrapped her arms around Izuku, giving him a hug and in a low voice said, I love you. I'm dead. It was Izuku's thought. Izuku swallowed saliva, as he saw the sweet smile of Rumi and Ryukyu who looked at him. Hey Izu, can you explain to me what are you doing with that girl? They were the words spoken with fake sweetness from a very pissed off Rumi. Calm down Rumi. Izu has a good explanation. Isn't that right Izu? They were the sweet words of an angry Ryukyu. Ha ha ha, of course I have a good explanation. Izuku left Nijire with his mother and walked away at the speed of light from a couple of very pissed off women while they both shouted, Izuku, where the fuck are you going? Asterisk the strongest of the AU. Theory Part 8. Asterisk before I start I want to clarify that Izuku is 14 years old. His sister is 16 and the whole 1A class will be in 2A and all the events in the anime will happen a year later, except that Toshinori will give one for all to Katsuki. End of explanation. Izuku spent the weekend getting beaten up. In a strange way Rumi and Ryukyu confessed their feelings to him. POV flashback. Rumi with tears, you might like that blue-haired girl. Responder. Why I won't let you get my students' hopes up so you can just play with her heart. It was Ryukyu's stern voice. Izuku didn't know what to do. He took a deep breath and answered, I don't know. My whole life was chaos. There was only one constant and that was to survive and be strong. He looks at his hand and forms a fist. She wanted the power to be on top of the world. Then she looks at her friends. But what good would all that power do me if I have no one by my side? You and my mother are the most important things in my life. Izuku smiles and can't stop a couple of tears from falling. Rumi and Ryukyu slowly approached each other and each caressed the cheeks of the young man they loved. The first one to speak was Rumi. I love you. I always fought to be the best, I always played hard to get so no one would underestimate me. And I never thought of falling in love. She touched her chest and sketched a faint smile. The love I feel makes me want to better myself and I want to share my life with you. Next, Ryukyu spoke. The first time I saw you was a villain, but I was surprised that villain risked his life to protect me. Then I discovered your life and I respect you for not letting yourself fall into darkness. You inspired me to be better and I want you to be present in all my life. I want you to be my friend, my partner, my lover, and in the future my husband and start a family. When Izuku finished listening to the confession, he smiled like he had never smiled before and hugged the women he had fallen in love with tightly. I swear I will do my best to make them happy. Izuku breaks away from the embrace and points to the sun as his body grows and screams for all to hear. I, the great Apollo-sama, will love you forever. Izuku Midoriya, I love them. Rumi and Ryukyu blush, but they also make a big smile. End of flashback. Izuku was about to leave for UA but before that he came clean with his girlfriends. He told them that he had feelings for Nijire and he also told them that he had to find two women who meant something to him in his previous life. Rumi and Ryukyu were a bit skeptical about the latter, but they trusted their boyfriend's judgment and before getting any partners he had to inform them first. We met at the AU where Principal Nizu gathered all the students in a room. Mina spoke with enthusiasm. What do you think this meeting will be about, girls? It's strange to be all students together. Mina is right. A young black-haired girl spoke up. It must be really important to be all together. TSH, I don't even care. Besides I have to put up with all these useless people. A blonde bombshell said so while holding a green-haired young woman by the waist. Izumi spoke up, I told you not to talk like that, Bakugo. Izumi spoke with clear annoyance. She was about to rethink why she was dating that idiot. She let go of Katsuki's grip and went to join her friends Uraraka and Lita. "Tsh, you'll see, bitch, I'll make you mine." Those were Katsuki's thoughts. Everyone please pay attention, where present mix words. The director is seen entering the Great Hall. The director speaks enthusiastically, promising young AU students. As you all know, in the 3A class we have the strongest, give them a round of applause. For the Big Three, a lot of applause was heard and the Big Three appeared, which consisted of Mirio, Tamaki and Nijire. Well, now I am going to introduce the new member who is the strongest one. And for those who have doubts, he is as strong as All Might and he is a machine in battle, and most importantly he has the heart of a true hero. Katsuki spoke with arrogance, "Ha ha ha ha, it's about time I was recognized. Now you all will be under my feet extras, ha 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 ha." Katsuki was getting up and went to walk towards the podium where the Big Three were. All the students were surprised to think that this bastard was going to be recognized as the strongest. The teachers who were in another sector looked on, wondering if Katsuki was really the one Nizu was referring to. All Might had a proud smile for his student and his daughter's fiancé. Katsuki came to where Nizu was standing and snatched the microphone from him. "How bastardly are you? It's about time I was recognized as the strongest. This proves what a scumbag you are, ha 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 ha." The doors to the room opened, revealing a blonde, muscular man who looked like the #1 hero in a younger version. The newcomer was walking in the direction of the podium with a seductive smile directed at Nijire, which she was blushing and had a big smile. Katsuki speaks angrily, "Who do you think you are to interrupt my moment of glory, you bastard? I introduce myself to everyone. I am Apollo-sama. And I see that some scum wants to have my position as the strongest one." Katsuki was about to retort, but he got a direct kick in the face, sending him flying into the wall, through it and knocking him unconscious. Apollo took the microphone. "My civilian name is Izuku Midoriya. I am 14 years old and as of today I establish myself as the strongest of all." The claims were not long in coming. One claim was the one that was repeated the most, and it was the one that I did not belong to the AU. "Hee, as I see you all very animated, let's make a bet. Everyone against me, whoever manages to defeat me I will yield my place as the strongest one." Izuku left the microphone and headed to the AU battlefield. It was not long in coming and all the students followed him with the intention of being recognized as the strongest. Izuku was stretching. He then proceeds to take off his shirt and show off his defined body, making several women blush. "Ready or not, here I come." Izuku launched himself at a speed impossible to follow with the eyes. Poem. Poem. Poem, were the sounds of the powerful blows heard from Izuku, and in less than 30 minutes all were unconscious except for one student. Izumi with some fear asks, "Mr. Midoriya, why haven't you attacked me yet?" Izuku approached with slow steps, scaring Izumi, and before she could react, she was hugged by Izuku. Izuku started crying. "You don't know how much I've waited for this moment, Izumi." For her part, Izumi was red with embarrassment, although something inside her told her to hug him, and so she did. "Tell me, Izuku, why are you hugging me? I am your brother." Izumi with a face that showed disbelief raised her face to see Izuku's face. She stopped hugging him and raised her hand to caress the face of the boy who said that he was her brother. "It's really you, Izuku." He just gives a faint smile, and that makes Izumi's heart beat hard. She breaks away from the embrace and grabs her locket and opens it. Looking at her most treasured photo, she looks at the blue-eyed blonde baby and also looks at his smile and compares it to the man in front of her. Izumi shedding some tears, "My little Amato, how much you have grown up, it seems you are even older than me." Izuku puts on a sad look as he remembers his early years of life. Izumi notices it and hugs him. "Calm down, little brother." Then she starts sobbing, Sniff sniff, you don't know how much I missed you, sorry for being useless and not being able to find you. He bends down and kisses her on the forehead. Don't worry Izumi-chan, the past is past. Now we can make up for lost time. Izuku grabs Izumi by the waist and dodges All Might, who wanted to grab his daughter. Izuku looks at his biological father with hatred. What do you think you're doing, All Might? Izumi sees the hatred in her brother's eyes. She didn't blame him. She feels an impulse that motivates her to do something she normally wouldn't do. Little brother. Izuku turns his head towards Izumi's voice and opens his eyes in surprise because she was kissing him. He was going to pull her away, but a flashback came to his mind. A time when he was not Izuku but another man, and he was kissed by the woman he knew as Merlin. He watched as in his last moment of life she kissed him. Izuku understood. He found Merlin, and despite what today's society says, he decided to love Izumi with all his being. He reciprocates Izumi's kiss and grabs her by the waist to pull her closer and deepen the kiss. Texas smash! It was the shout of a furious All Might who tried to hit the boy who was kissing his daughter. To his surprise, his blow was stopped by just a finger of the young man. Izuku broke away from the kiss and spoke, "Good night, All Might." He didn't hesitate, and with great force he gave him a strong blow that deformed a little the face of the hero number one and left him unconscious instantly. Izumi saw this and felt no pity. She hated her father for what he did to Izuku, and she also hated him for getting her engaged to Katsuki, who she didn't really love. The little love she felt was because he promised her to find her brother. But he never kept his word. Izuku looked at Izumi and spoke to her, "Let's go to mother." Visit to the Island. Theory Part 9. I'm Melissa Shield and my life hasn't been the best. I am one of the few people who does not have a gift. Thanks to that I always received ridicule. My only support is my father. But I discovered that I wanted to do something stupid. My father made a deal with a villain to get a machine to increase the power of a gift. I had no choice but to ask for help, and the only place I could ask for help is the UA. I talked to the director and luckily they are going to send me the strongest student. The events of Wolfram's heist are identical to the anime and would also include the entire class 2A. The only difference is the presence of Izuku, who took the role of Melissa's bodyguard and would only act when necessary. Melissa, with tears, watched in horror as her father was shot and wounded. Otosan, sniff sniff, don't leave me. Then she gives a furious look at the boy who has done nothing but watch. Get out of here. I hate you. Izuku stayed in the same place without doing anything. Then the fight between Wolfram versus All Might and Katsuki was witnessed. After a fierce battle, the winner was Wolfram. Ha 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 ha, with this device I am indestructible. No one can stop me. Melissa had her fists clenched with helplessness. It was all my fault. If I had a gift I could have been of help. Izuku looked at her attentively and spoke to her. Tell me, young Shield, what would you give to have the power needed to stop Wolfram? I would give it all. I would give my life. Hee, then I'll lend you my sunshine. Izuku touched Melissa's head and she became surrounded by a flame-red aura. Melissa grew taller and more muscular, giving her the appearance of a professional heroine. Melissa looked at her hand and thought. So that's how she feels about having a gift. She glared angrily at Wolfram. He screams with great hatred, "I'll kill you, you bastard." She disappeared in a flash of red and reappeared on top of Wolfram, kicking him towards the ground. Wolfram was pulling himself together, but Melissa appears in front of him, punching him in the face and sending the villain flying. Melissa appears behind the villain with her leg raised and brings it down so sharply that it breaks Wolfram's spine. "Aragrrr, you bastard. I will kill you." Wolfram was about to use his quirk. But Melissa approached and with one punch went through Wolfram's stomach and mercilessly grabbed his rib and ripped it out. "Ayaha, mercy. Mercy. I surrender." At that moment the villain was crying in pain. Melissa was in a state of rage and she approached the villain to kill him. Izuku positions himself in front of her with a serious look. Answer me, Melissa, do you really think what you are doing is how a hero would act? Melissa clenched her fist angrily. What do you know? You will never be able to understand me. This society has made it clear to me that my life doesn't matter. No matter if they imprison me, I'm going to kill that bastard for killing my father. Izuku didn't turn away. Melissa got angry at that. Mercilessly she pierced Izuku's chest, making him spit out some blood. Izuku caressed the face of a furious Melissa. If nothing matters to you, then answer why you're crying. That's none of your business, and why would you care about a quirk less? The only one who cared about me was my father. Sniff sniff, and now I've lost him. Izuku went over, even if it meant he got hurt, as Melissa still had him through. And then she hugged him. Cof. Don't worry, Melly, I would never think badly of you just for not having a quirk. Then he put on a sad smile. Besides, I was born without a quirk myself. That surprised Melissa, but she was annoyed. He's lying, you clearly have a gift. He gave a sigh and confessed, I was abandoned, and from a very young age I was subjected to various experiments. After many years of torture I was almost killed, and I was able to escape. I lived in the street, ate garbage, and was chased by heroes. I had to fight and I lost. Melissa by now was calmer, and it was at this point that she was startled. The boy who spoke to her warmly and could understand her. She herself was piercing him very close to her heart. Melissa began to sob and withdrew the fist that had pierced Izuku's body. She hugged him tightly. Sniff, forgive me. I was wrong. After saying that she fell down fainted. Izuku regenerated his wound and the sunshine came back to his body. He saw all the destruction around him, he saw many people hurt. Izuku raised his hand and a light covered the whole area, healing all the wounded. Including Melissa's father, who was still alive. Hours later, all of Island recognized the hero Apollo as the savior of the whole place, and now he was giving a world conference. As you know, I am the hero Apollo. Today's event will never happen again. As of today, Island is under my care and I will not let anything happen to him. Wolfram will be locked up in Tartarus and the scientist David Shield will be released under surveillance. Melissa Shield, I will take her in as my first student because I see great potential in her as a heroine. If you're listening, Melissa, you have the makings of a heroine. Izuku points a finger at the cameras. You can be a great heroine. Melissa turns off the TV and covers her face with her arm to avoid crying. Sniff sniff, I will strive and prove that even I can be a heroine. Then her mind projects the image of Izuku. She sketches a cute smile at the thought of the only boy who gave her the motivation to believe, even though she herself stopped believing in her. The Big Midoriya Family. Theory Part 10. Izuku was nervous because in front of her was her mother and a green aura surrounded her and she had a not friendly smile. Inko, annoyed and faking a smile, speaks, let me get this straight, you have Rumi and Ryuko as your girlfriend, I can understand that. Then you fell in love with Nijire because you thought she was quite a beautiful girl, then shamelessly you also have a relationship with Izumi, and to finish you're with Melissa. As Inko spoke, the aforementioned women blushed in embarrassment. Izuku, more nervous, spoke up again, there's another surprise to tell you. Inko glared at him. Rumi, somewhat red, began to speak, my quirk gives me the features of an animal and I have a mating season and one thing led to another and now I'm expecting a son. Mrs. Midoriya, you will be a grandmother. Inko didn't wait any longer and sent her son flying, sending him to the outskirts of the city with her quirk. Then, calmer, she talked to her son's partners and ordered Rumi to marry her son. 2 quiet months passed and Japan's biggest disaster happened. AFO and their allies started a war to take over Japan. The battle began and the heroes were outnumbered. Thanks to Izuku's healing quirk there were still no dead. Everything went to hell when Katsuki betrayed the heroes by injecting a syringe to eliminate the quirks. Ha 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 ha, come on you useless DKU. What are you going to do without your quirk? Izuku attacked, and to everyone's surprise Katsuki stopped him. Ha 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 ha, the quirk of All Might is amazing, but it's more amazing the quirk that AFO gave me. Now I'm invincible, ha ha ha. Izuku also started laughing. Ha 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 ha, you say you're invincible, and who decided it? You say I'm useless without my quirk. And who the fuck decided it? His body started radiating heat and growing in size. I'm the one who decided that too. Izuku reaches over and elbows Katsuki in the throat, shredding his throat in the process. Without stopping, he went through her stomach. And finally he gave her an axe kick aimed at her leg. Katsuki didn't expect to lose the limb of his leg. Ayagurgur, you bastard, I will kill you. Izumi appeared in the sky and raised her hand and then lowered it. An immense pressure invades Katsuki's body, forcing him to the ground. Izumi approaches with a disgusted expression and speaks to him. Luckily I never kissed you. I'll confess that just knowing that I went out with you makes me hugely disgusted. Katsuki is about to faint. Bitch, I'm going to kill you. After that she faints. Izumi uses her gift and makes Katsuki's member explode. Izuku would never admit it, but that scared him. Izumi noticed her brother's reaction and gave him an innocent smile and just said, "You cheat on me with someone and that will be your destiny." She, without waiting for an answer, left the place. The war ended as AFO and All Might prepared to fight. Both gave it their all, but AFO was going to win until Izuku trapped him in a grip. AFO, annoyed, "Let me go or else." Pum. There was a gigantic explosion as Izuku self-exploded, finishing AFO. Next to beat was Shigaraki, but Izuku saw the pain in his eyes. And with a little help, Izuku was able to make Shigaraki understand that his path was not the right one and that, if he wanted to make his dead family proud, his path should be that of a hero to prevent any child from living a life similar to his. The war ended. Several villains who wished to redeem themselves were the very ones who helped repair the damage they had done. Izuku and Melissa formed an institution to help those people who had a mutation quirk or a quirk considered a villain or someone with no quirk. The Midoriya family grew in number over the years. Another thing that happened is that Melissa became a heroine due to being trained by Rumi and Ryukyu. Apart with her artifacts, she didn't really need a quirk to fulfill her dream. In a large house you can see on a small table there was a portrait of 15 people. They were the Midoriya family. You can still see a happy Izuku who was hugging his 8 children, and his wives were behind Izuku and each one of them was in a funny pose. End of story. Thank you very much. We are already more than 500 subscribers on YouTube. The next story will be published after 700 subscribers. Remember that my story is to entertain. The characters are not faithful to mythological tales or anime. You can support me by following me on Wattpad or subscribing on my YouTube channel. You can support me monetarily to my PayPal bunme22@gmail.com.